The film commences with Echa, who recounts her tale and elucidates that she experiences the identical fear each night, wherein she envisions a remarkably attractive man residing in an expansive house who approaches her incrementally each day. Even on this particular day, as Echa was immersed in this dream, it became apparent that in reality, she was also plagued by a demon, and it was evident that a malevolent spirit had taken control of Echa. Nevertheless, when Echa awakens during the night, she feels rather content when her husband returns home. Yet why was she upset? Because each day her husband, Echa, begins to feel increasingly irritated. She instructs her husband to ensure that everything is kept in its designated place, and he complies. However, it becomes evident that a demon is responsible for throwing all those items around, which infuriates Echa. This situation escalates into a heated argument between Echa and her husband, leading him to leave the house without having breakfast, feeling upset. The following day, Echa goes to her workplace and confides in her friend, expressing her concern that her husband seems to have changed. She feels he no longer provides her with the attention he once did, and her friends point out that she doesn't treat him the same way either. They mention that she doesn't speak as sweetly as she used to, and she does not prepare herself. They advise Echa that if she desires her husband to focus on her, she should adorn herself attractively for him this evening. Meanwhile, her husband Ariel is also disturbed by the fact that she is not content with him. He converses about this with his superior, who suggests he engage in a meaningful dialogue with Echa. That evening, when Ariel arrives home, Echa is well prepared and converses with him pleasantly, making the day go exceptionally well for them. Echa desires Ariel's affection, and Ariel indeed loves her, but during this period, they could also see the demon with them. Anyway, you think about it, and in the dream, she sees the same handsome man again, and today that handsome man was angry. He says something like, "You cannot go out of my control." Hearing this, Echa wakes up frightened. In the dream, the man had placed a flower on her stomach. When Echa woke up scared, she saw that the flower was lying on her bed, and now her husband Ariel was not there. Somewhere downstairs, Ariel had made breakfast for her. They both apologize to each other for their past mistakes and decide to start anew. They make a decision to begin afresh. Upon her arrival at her workplace, she noticed the identical flower in the storage room that had been on her bed. Just as she was about to reach for it, another person's hand seized it first. Turning around, she saw that the attractive man from her dream was now standing before her, swiftly moving towards her. She felt frightened, and when she glanced at her reflection in the mirror, she became even more horrified because the reflection revealed a demon. It resembled a devil, and the sight of it caused her to vomit. When she proceeded to the restroom, her friend trailed behind her, observing her actions. Echa departed without engaging in conversation with her, and her friend grew extremely concerned upon witnessing her vomit, as it contained blood and numerous worms. Later in the evening, she encounters Ejad's sister, and through their discussion, we discover that Echa has a deep affection for children. Nevertheless, despite being in good health, she remains childless, and the doctors have prescribed some medications for her. She now requests Ariel to fetch her medicines, and as soon as Echa's message is received, she spots Echa in this vacant building. He calls out to her in surprise, and Echa gets caught in his hand. He runs after her and sees that Echa has suddenly become strange. Her stomach swelled, she became pregnant, and suddenly with a jolt, her baby was born. The baby, who was quite mischievous, started moving towards Ariel, and Richa kept smiling at Ariel with a strange smile. To escape from the baby, Ariel runs and bumps into his senior. He was explaining everything to his senior about how Echa was behind him, but when he turned around to look back, there was no one there. Ariel takes a leave and comes home, where he sees that everything was normal and she was talking to him in a normal way, but Ariel was behaving strangely with Echa, and Echa also felt it. He tells Echa to call the healthcare lady the next morning and then goes to sleep. Even while sleeping, he was seeing all the villains appearing at night, which kept scaring him repeatedly. In the morning, the ladies whom Ariel had called arrived and started massaging Echa, and while doing so, they informed Ariel that Echa was 3 months pregnant. Hearing this, Peter was very happy, but Ariel was very upset. She couldn't have been 3 or 4 months pregnant because Ariel and Echa hadn't been close in the past 6 months. Ariel discusses everything with his senior, who also suggests talking to Echa directly about all these matters. Here, Echa was very happy, as if she had found a treasure. She happily shared the news of her pregnancy with all her colleagues. However, we see that Echa's friend was not happy today. She was worried for Echa because the previous day she had seen something concerning in Echa's vomiting. She saw foams and blood, which wasn't a good sign, but Echa was so happy that she ignored her friend's concerns. In the parking area, Ariel perceived the sound of an infant wailing emanating from a vehicle. When he illuminated the car with a flashlight, he observed a sinister child within. Terrified, he fled, and as he did so, we witness a demon cradling the child. Once at home, Ariel inspects Echa's phone due to his suspicions about her, and he discovers a conversation with a young man. When he inquires about it, she clarifies that the young man is her childhood companion who was merely conversing with her following a disagreement with his spouse. There was absolutely nothing occurring between him and Aisha. Echa comprehended the reason behind Ariel's suspicion towards her, so in a fit of anger, she informed Ariel that they would visit the laboratory the following day to undergo tests to confirm that the child was indeed his. Agreeing with Echa's proposal, they proceeded to the hospital the next morning, where the medical professional examined Echa and discovered that she was not pregnant. So, what was all this occurring? The doctor elucidated that when a woman intensely desires to become a mother and fixates on that aspiration, her body frequently begins to exhibit such changes. It seemed like she was pregnant. The healthcare provider also told her she was pregnant just by looking at her body shape. However, there was nothing like that. Hearing all this, Echa becomes even more worried and Ariel becomes very upset that he doubted Echa for no reason. Echa was sad. She went and told her friend everything, and her friend told her that what was happening to her was not right. That is the reason why she escorts Echa to her instructor, Mr. Jenny. As soon as Mr. Jenny observes Echa, he perceives the identical demon lurking behind her and comprehends that there is a significant problem with Echa. He then welcomes Echa and her companion inside and begins explaining to them about particular spirits whose purpose is to destroy individuals' married lives. He inquires if Echa has experienced any dreams or hallucinations. When Echa shares her dreams with him, he enlightens her that there is a shadow of such a spirit trailing her that disrupts people's households. Echa additionally informs Mr. Jenny regarding her supposed pregnancy, to which Mr. Jenny clarifies that she is indeed not pregnant. Upon hearing this, she experiences an even greater sense of relief. Echa's condition was considerably severe, prompting her friend to remain with her for an extended period. Once Echa drifted into sleep, her friend decided to make her way home. Along the road, she noticed a cat's lifeless body, which she carefully picked up and placed aside to prevent it from being run over. Suddenly, she sensed something peculiar. When she glanced back, she observed the same gym from where she had previously taken Echa to Mr. Jenny to rescue her from the knife. She had departed. Consequently, John was extremely furious and assaulted Echa's companion, resulting in her demise. Echa witnessed all of this within her dream and awoke in a state of fright. She could perceive noises emanating from outside. When she ventured outside, filled with fear, she discovered her friend deceased exactly as she had envisioned in her dream. The passing of her friend devastated Echa. She also experienced guilt, believing her friend's death was due to her. When Ariel returned home, he found Echa weeping intensely. As soon as Echa recounted everything to Ariel, he too was profoundly saddened. Abruptly, amidst her tears, Echa's abdomen expands as though she is expecting a child. Observing this, both individuals become increasingly concerned. The following morning, Echa confides in Ariel about the recurring dreams she has been experiencing daily, which Saini Sahib had mentioned were manifested by the spirits. Ariel concludes that they ought to bring Echa to Saini Sahib. Upon their arrival, Saini Sahib perceives the extent of distress Echa and Ariel are enduring and consents to assist them. This signifies the commencement of Echa's endeavor to liberate herself from the demon. The procedure initiates. Nevertheless, this demon was exceedingly formidable. Throughout the exorcism, it infiltrates Echa's body and, in a horrifying voice, declares to everyone present that they cannot detach it from Echa because, in an alternate dimension, in another realm, Echa had wed this demon. Following this, the demon departs from Echa's body, inflicting her with tremendous agony. Mr. Jang elucidates to Beryl that this genie devastates the lives of couples in such a manner and emphasizes the critical importance of eliminating it. It is essential, and to eliminate it, they are instructed with certain verses that they must recite on a daily basis. These individuals persist in reading those verses for a duration of 14 days, and indeed, their lives become significantly more normal than previously, with the nightmares ceasing as a consequence of reciting these verses. However, one day, Ariel informs Echa that he must travel out of town for work-related purposes. Despite his reluctance to leave Poicha in such a precarious situation, the opportunity to earn a substantial amount of money in another city was too significant to ignore, as it would resolve all their pressing financial issues. HRL assures, "You should be aware, I will manage myself after my husband departs," and at night, she reads the same year and retires to sleep. But today, we observe her house appearing peculiar. This implies I had returned, and Ariel intended to exploit the situation of being away from Echa. Where did Echa venture in the morning? All of his employees' eyes transformed. They commenced approaching Echa in an intimidating manner and began speaking in peculiar voices, insisting that you cannot abandon me. All these occurrences terrified Echa immensely, and during the night, he summoned his sister to their home. Echa had now informed Ariel about everything that had transpired with him over the phone. Now, Ariel contacts Echa's sister and instructs her that regardless of what transpires, you must ensure that Echa does not fall asleep, because the previous time this occurred, when his friend escorted him to Mr. Jaini after Echa fell asleep, his friend in Chennai was tragically killed. And now, if it reaches 50, the jinn will undoubtedly launch an attack on both of them. She keeps Echa occupied in conversation. However, while engaging in dialogue, Echa becomes so profoundly despondent that she cannot control herself. Her sister attempts to rouse her with considerable force. When Echa does not awaken, the jinn abruptly attacks Echa's sister. It initially places a hand on her shoulder and subsequently lifts her, hurling her off the bed. The sister, terrified, dashes out of the room only to be lifted by unseen feet and thrown against the wall. The sister loses consciousness right there. When she gradually opened her eyes a little later, she realized she had once again neglected her stomach and was experiencing a significant amount of pain. Observing this, she became infuriated and began stumbling her way downstairs. She didn't even notice her sister sitting there, unconscious by the staircase. She attempted to utilize a hanger to extract the child from within her, but she was unsuccessful. By the time Ariel arrived, Echa's condition had deteriorated significantly. He managed to revive Echa's sister back to consciousness and then swiftly transported Echa to Mr. Jenny's residence, where Mr. Saini. They additionally summon all those individuals, and this ceremonial event commences at this location. Numerous individuals were present at the fair here, and within Echa's dream, we were witnessing an entirely different world, the one they had constructed. Even within the realm of that particular day, she was able to perceive all the prayers of these individuals, and she had a strong desire to accompany those prayers. She wished to depart from that world, yet at this moment, Mujhe Nakar informs her that she is unable to leave his world. Terrified, she begins to run frantically in various directions, and her frantic running incites the anger of that day, and he abruptly approaches Echa and checks her from behind. As soon as he twirls her in the world of genies, here in the tangible world, Echa becomes severely processed, and from the bed itself. She flies up, and her bed also flies into the air. The mischief had spread there too, and she was laughing just like the genies. These individuals commenced reciting their prayers with even greater volume, resulting in that particular day experiencing significant distress. It attempts to intimidate Mr. Johnny as well, but Mr. Johnny remains unafraid. In such circumstances, that day also starts to endure suffering, and it diminishes its hold over Echa. As soon as Echa and her bed make contact with the ground, Ariel begins to read the same floor in her dreams, and in this manner, Echa envisions in her dream that Ariel is communicating to her that he requires her presence, and she should return to his world and dedicate all her energy to this world of days. From that particular day onward, in order to evade her destiny, she could still perceive the prayers of all those individuals in the realm of the jinn. When they commence reciting them in the world of the jinn, that day's world starts to disintegrate. Meanwhile, in the actual world, we observe that Echa's situation collapses, and ultimately, Mr. Johnny's endeavors succeed, and Echa becomes conscious from that day. Echa was now entirely liberated from the confinement of that day. Ariel and his sister were exceedingly delighted to witness this. The narrative then presents us with a period 6 years into the future. By this particular point in time, Echa had 2 children, and their life had returned to a state of normalcy. We observe that when the children were engaged in play, Echa's sister desired to bring them inside from the outdoors, and we witnessed the same demon manifesting in a human form, which appeared rather peculiar to Echa's sister. This suggests that the demon was unable to fully possess Echa, yet it had not completely departed either. At the conclusion of the movie, we are presented with the actual girl on whom this movie was based, and the film concludes with her interview. The narrative concludes with an interview featuring the young girl on whom the entire movie is based.